Omani was born into a small village, nestled by the plains of an African region's eastern settlement. She was a sweet, humble, and naive child, whose laughter echoed through the bustling marketplace as she helped her mother sell fruits and vegetables. The villagers adored her, fondly calling her the sunshine of the village. But behind her innocent smile lay a destiny that no one could have imagined. A tale of power, fear, and ultimate redemption. From an early age, strange occurrences surrounded Omani, leaving her peers amazed and confused. Her mother often told her, "You are an ancestral mother, reborn carrying the spirits of our lineage." Her mother believed Omani was imbued with the power of their ancestors, although these powers remained dormant. Omani idolized her father, a kind and honorable man deeply respected in the village. She aspired to emulate his goodness and grace. But tragedy struck when her father died unexpectedly. Left in the care of her mother, Omani's life took a dark turn. Her mother was a stark contrast to her father, a woman of questionable morals, who valued wealth and control above all else. She taught Omani to be cunning, manipulative, and ruthless, justifying her methods with the mantra, "The world doesn't reward the kind, it rewards the strong." Life's betrayals and her mother's teachings hardened her. By the time she came of age, Omani had transformed into an ambitious, shrewd woman, determined to rise above everyone. She began lending small sums of money to struggling villagers, demanding exorbitant interest, and when they couldn't repay, she seized their lands and homes, converting them into use for her mills, her ultimate business empire. Exploiting the laws of the time, her ruthlessness knew no bounds. Farmers lost their crops to mysterious wildfires. Shopkeepers who resisted her demands saw their businesses ruined. Upon business hiccups with her, even the village king became powerless and a shell of himself under her dominance. She built a grand mansion atop a hill, overlooking the lands she had seized. To the villagers, Omani was no longer human. She was a storm that left destruction in her wake. But Omani's reign was not without resistance. Obi, a wealthy merchant, refused to sell his fertile lands despite Omani's threats. Shortly after, he was found lifeless under mysterious circumstances, and Omani seized his lands. Chidi, a respected village chief, tried to mediate, but he fell gravely ill and withdrew in fear. Mama Okri, a resilient matriarch, rallied women to resist Omani, but her house mysteriously caught fire, claiming her life. Even Osato, a brave migrant who had sojourned within the village from a neighboring land, disappeared after a heated confrontation with her. Despite her fearsome reputation, Omani had two close friends, Obianuju and Kachi. These women, respected and feared within the village for their affiliation with Omani, brought her village gossip and unwittingly fueled her schemes. One day, Kachi mentioned a prime piece of land owned by Chidinma, a young orphan with no family to protect her. Obianuju chimed in, expressing sympathy for Chidinma, saying that it was a young girl's home and being an orphan, no one even thought it an issue worth bothering her over. She added that it would be cruel of anyone to target her. When Omani heard these words, she became furious at Obianuju and lashed out at her. "Do you think I'm cruel? You, my most trusted friend, believes this nonsense about me." Omani snapped. Obianuju stammered an apology, explaining that she was only repeating what the villagers had said about the poor young orphan. Omani dismissed the conversation and showed no interest in the property. However, during a rare visit to that part of the village, Omani stumbled upon the area where Chidinma lived. Struck by its beauty, Omani was captivated. Later, she recounted her discovery to her friends. Both Kochi and Obianuju exclaimed in amazement, "Pa Ikoku's yard." Hearing this, Omani demanded to know more about the land. Kachi explained that the property belonged to Pa Aikaku, Chidinma's late grandfather. Upon hearing this, Omani's interest was piqued. She became obsessed. She devised a plan to claim the property, spreading lies about Chidinma and manipulating her uncle. During one of his visits to the village, she used her spiritual powers to cloud his mind, ensuring he lost interest in his late father's property. Meanwhile, Chidinma's life was a testament to resilience. After her mother's death, she endured maltreatment from her stepmother. At the age of 6, she also lost her father, leaving her at the mercy of her cruel stepmother. And by the time she was 8, her maternal grandfather, Paikaku, came to her rescue. He took her to live with him and his wife, though not her biological grandmother. This woman loved and cared for Chidinma like her own child. Under their guidance, Chidinma learnt to pray, trust in God and persevere. They didn't have much, but they ensured Chidinma never went to sleep hungry. But tragedy struck again when Chidinma was 12. Her grandparents passed away in a boating accident to a nearby fish market, leaving her orphaned once more. After her grandparents' demise, Chidinma's uncle always sent supplies and money for her upkeep, entrusting her care to a neighbor, Annie. She would frequently spend her days at Annie's house, helping with chores while receiving the care and companionship she longed for. And by night she returned to her grandparents' home to sleep. Following in her grandparents' footsteps, Chidinma took to trading in the market, which took place every 2 days, selling goods to sustain herself. She had grown to become a 17-year-old young lady who thrived through faith and hard work, clinging to the hope that one day she would reunite with her uncle again. When Omani decided to displace Chidinma, she visited the young girl's home. "In 2 days, I want this place evacuated. And you, gone from here," she declared. Chidinma greeted her respectfully, saying, "Greetings, Ma. You're welcome to my home." But Omani yelled, "I sent word through Obianuju. Why are you still here?" Chidinma replied calmly, "Yes, Ma, I was informed. But this is my ancestral property, and I have no place else to go. Please deal kindly with me, Ma, I am just a young girl." The villagers observed all these in awe as the seemingly powerless orphan stood her ground against the mighty Omani. The final confrontation came on a moonless night. Omani arrived, determined to force Chidinma out. Armed with the force of her spiritual powers, she retorted, "This girl would be as though she never existed by the time I am done with her." Just as she entered the house in rage and about speaking, an extraordinary event unfolded. The air grew heavy and a blinding light filled the room. Omani froze, paralyzed. She saw visions of those she had wronged, faces of all those who were deceased on her account, filled with sorrow. A deep voice echoed,
"You have defied man, but now you defy God. Your reign ends here."
Terrified, Omani fell to her knees and crawled out. When she was able to move her feet just as she was outside, she fled, never to return. And from that day her powers crumbled. The lands she had seized were reclaimed, and her mansion became an abandoned relic of her downfall. Omani spent her remaining days in solitude, haunted by her deeds, deserted by the people she once called friends. Chidinma, however, became a symbol of hope and faith. Her story inspired the villagers to stand against injustice and trust in God.